Hello, you're listening to Everyday Happiness on Waterberg Stereo 104.9, where we explore the gap between the pain of disaster and the exhilaration of success. I'm your host, Susan Shareko. Welcome. I'm a transformational life and business coach. I help other people move from the conditions and circumstances and situations in which they find themselves to the life that they would love living. And if you'd like help negotiating that gap yourself, I'll provide some information at the end of this call. So for now, welcome to the show. I am thrilled to have Noah St. John on the show today. He's talking about his latest book, which is The 7-Figure Life, How to Leverage the 4 Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness. I first became aware of Noah it's over a decade ago. I was at my wit's end, deep in debt, and asking to hear from somebody who could help me get unstuck. And then I heard Noah. He was on a program just like this, speaking about his story of transformation. And it resonated so much with me that I became one of his students. And it was the breakthrough that has enabled me to reach what up until now has been the apex of my career as a producer on Home and Family, the Hallmark Channel show. He's going to take some time today where we're going to talk to him about this new book, where he's come from, what he's accomplished, and maybe what's going to happen next in his life. So please welcome, wave your hands to welcome Noah St. John.
Hey.
Hello, Noah. Welcome.
It's great to be here, Susan. And wow, it's been over 10 years that, we've worked together, and what a journey it's been, huh?
Truly, truly. Ups and downs, by the way. But, you're known as the father of affirmations. It's one of the nomenclatures about you. Mm-hmm. What was going on in your life before you had the epiphany, literally an epiphany, that led to your awareness of the power of affirmations?
Well, and just so folks listening know, we are saying a new word. It's Afformations. We're not saying affirmations. All right. So I want people to realize I don't go around saying I'm the father of affirmations, because that wouldn't make any sense. I'm the father of Afformations, which is something that I invented, a method, a process, a methodology that I invented over 25 years ago that has helped over 1 million people in over 120 countries to literally change their lives, including our wonderful hostess here, Susan. So what was going on before that was that, and just to give you the briefest of histories, I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood. And I know that's a total cliche, but it's totally true. I grew up in a small town called Kennebunkport, Maine, which is one of the wealthiest communities in New England, but my family was dirt poor. And I mean that literally, because we lived at the bottom of a dirt road in a drafty, unfinished house that my parents actually ended up losing to foreclosure when I was just 15 years old. So I grew up with the painful experience of seeing the gap, the chasm between the haves and the have-nots. The haves was everyone else in the community. The have-nots was my family. And so, you always hear these speakers or motivational speakers, they get up on stage and say, well, we were poor, but we were happy. We didn't know we were poor. Well, my family, we freaking knew we were poor because my mother, bless her heart, reminded us every day that we were poor and miserable. So it wasn't happy, it sucked. And so I hated being poor. I just hated that life of poverty, fear, lack, not enoughness. That's what I grew up with. But I saw that right down the street, there's great wealth and abundance. So I said, how the heck do I get from here to there? And so there was no internet back then. The only internet we had was called libraries. Yes. So I spent all my time in libraries and just read every book that I could on self-help, personal growth, all the classics, Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, Stephen Covey, Wayne Dyer, they all said basically the same thing. You say these positive statements called affirmations, and they're supposed to change your life. Well, I did that. I did that for years, and it never worked for me. I couldn't get it to work. I would write it down. I did everything that the book said, and I would say, I'm happy, I'm rich, I'm successful. And the reality was, no, I'm not. I'm broke, unhappy, and miserable. So I was like, why the heck isn't this working? And so one day it was actually it was April 20th, 1997. So it was over 25 years ago now, when I was actually in the shower and I had this epiphany that changed my life. In my books and my coaching, in my online programs, I call it the shower that changed everything. Because I'm sure everyone listening has had that experience, right? You're in the shower and you have that aha moment or that epiphany, right?
Absolutely.
You
Yes.
know, and well, this was the shower that changed everything for me, and now, you know, over 1 million people around the world. And so when I
Amazing.
realized that, you know, we're using we've been taught to use these statements. We've only been taught basically one way to change our beliefs, right? Because that's what we're really talking about. I said we're talking about beliefs, right? And if we want a better life, we have to change our beliefs. So I said, well, I know that's right, but what is a belief? And then I said, well, a belief is just a thought. And then I said, well, what is thought? And the more that I thought about that question, what is human thought? I realized that human thought is the process of asking and searching for answers to questions, not statements, but questions. For example, if I ask you, why is the sky blue? Why is the sky blue? Immediately, what happens in your brain?
You start to look for it. Why is the
Right.
sky blue?
That's right. You start to search for the answer. Now, notice you couldn't even help doing this. You couldn't not do it. And psychologists actually have a term for this. It's called the embedded presupposition factor of the brain. It's just a fancy way of saying when you ask a question, your brain searches for the answer. So I said, well, wait a second. If the human mind is automatically searching for answers to questions, why are we going around making statements that we don't believe? You know, because here that's the problem with the old way, with the affirmations way. In fact, you know, as an executive coach, a business coach, and you know, I'm also a keynote speaker, right? So I get to speak all around the country and around the world, you know, to organizations, teams, companies, whether virtually or in person. And one of the things I like to do as a keynote speaker is I like to, you know, play a little game with my audience. And I say, all right, we're all going to say an affirmation, just like the gurus taught us. And I want you all to say, I am rich. And everybody says, I am rich.
I'm rich.
Right. And you know what happens next? Everybody starts laughing.
They're not.
Right. And I go, what are you laughing at? They go, well, I'm not rich. And I say, but you just said that you were. And they go, yeah, but I don't believe it. See, now, isn't that the problem with the old method, right? We say these
Absolutely.
positive statements, we want to believe them, but we just don't believe them, right? And so I realized, well, wait a minute. What if instead of saying these statements we don't believe, why don't we just cut out the middle, man, and go right to the question? And then I said, well, what would that look like? Well, let's see, you got the statement or affirmation, I am rich. And your brain goes, yeah, right. Right. We literally don't believe it. So I said, if that's the statement, what would the question be? And then I said, why am I so rich? Why am I so rich? Now, when you ask that question, what immediately starts to happen in your brain?
Again, you're looking for the answer. Why
Right.
am I so rich?
Exactly.
And there's
And
no doubt in it. You don't have to have doubt. You
that's
don't have
right.
to believe it.
That's right. Exactly. So what I'm teaching and what my coaching, what my books, what my training is all about is using the law of sowing and reaping. As you sow, so shall you reap. Now, this is an ancient law. It's been taught for centuries. And yet, what are we sowing? Well, we're sowing seeds of thought. And yet, what are most people doing? Sowing lousy thought seeds. Why am I so stupid? Why am I so fat? Why can't I lose weight? Why isn't my business growing? Why can't I get more patients or customers or
Right.
clients? Why is there more month left at the end of the money?
Then money.
Right, exactly. And so when you ask lousy questions, what do you get?
You get lousy answers.
Lousy answers, right? And that creates a lousy life. So I said, wait a second, what if instead of asking lousy questions that lead to lousy answers and create a lousy life, why don't we just flip the whole thing on its head? Start asking empowering questions that lead to phenomenal answers and create a wonderful life. And as I was standing there in the shower, April 1997, over 25 years ago, I literally said, holy cow, I think I just invented something. And
And
so
you did.
I did.
Well, since then, Noah,
What?
since then, you've written 18 books.
Yes.
You've worked with significant folks like Hollywood celebrities,
Yep.
8-figure company CEOs,
Yep.
and all sorts of professional athletes who all resonate with this concept.
Mhm.
And you've also developed a reputation for helping your clients make more in 12 weeks than they made in the previous 12 months. How do you do that?
Well, it is a combination of two things. And what is interesting about this process, my method, is that people say, clients, you know, my clients over the last 2 decades are really stunned at how simple it is. Because one of the things, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're just starting out, whether you've been doing this for a while, or maybe you are a professional you're an executive, you have a job, and you're looking for a promotion or whatever it might be, a lot of times we look for complicated things. Well, it's got to be complicated, because if it was easy, then I would have already known about it. But that's not always the case. That's not necessarily true. In fact, it's often not true. And one of the reasons for that is because the marketing gurus out there, they want to complicate it. They want you to think it's complicated. They want to confuse us. And I say us because I paid them over $500,000 over, the years, trying to, learn this and learn that, only to come to find out they can't teach their way out of a paper bag. And so that's why what I do is very different, and it's very simple. And the way that we do it is with two things, and that is inner game and outer game.
Okay.
Now, when you look at any human endeavor, whether it's wanting to grow your business or get a promotion at work or land your dream job, like you were able to do, Susan, right? And so many others, who I've coached over the years. There are always these two aspects of it. And that is the inner component and the outer component. Now, we just simply call it inner game and outer game. Now, what does that mean? So inner game stands for everything that happens between your ears that you can't see directly, but it affects everything that you do. So another example, as a keynote speaker, right? One of the things I like to say as a keynote speaker, I'll ask my audience members, okay, what is one area of your life where your beliefs don't affect you? And people will go, and I say, exactly.
Our beliefs affect everything.
Exactly. There's no place your beliefs don't affect you, right? They affect everything, right? They affect your health, right? Your well-being, your stress level, how well you sleep or don't sleep, if you have insomnia or whatever that might be, right? So many, many aspects of health and well-being, your mental health, of course, right? Then
right, your relationships.
Right, your relationships, your personal, your business, your intimate relationships, your money, your wealth, right? Whether it's if you own your own business as an entrepreneur, or you are in a job, looking for that promotion or whatever it might be, right? So your beliefs affect everything. But here's the funny thing about it: you can't see a belief. You can only see the effects of a belief, right? So a lot of times we don't know what we believe until the thing has already happened. So it's everywhere, but you can never see it directly. And that's why a lot of people don't really know how to change or transform their beliefs, like I help people do. I've been helping people to do for a long time. So that's the inner game. And then we also have the outer game. Now, the outer game is everything you can see directly. So, for example, as an entrepreneur, those are, and, in my program, like you mentioned that I help people make more in 12 weeks than in the previous 12 months. We have a program, a coaching program called the 12-Week Breakthrough. And that's where I really literally help people make more in 12 weeks than they did in the previous 12 months, while winning back 1 to 3 hours in their day and 4 to 8 weeks per year. Now, that last phrase is very important. And here's why. I want people to realize that there's lots of people out there who say, hey, I'll show you how to make more money. Okay, great. How do I do it? Well, you work 10 times harder, work 10 times longer, work 18 hours a day, don't take any time off, don't see your family, keep your nose to the grindstone, and don't take any breaks. All right, sound good? And you're like,
no,
that kind of sucks. What? But there's
Absolutely.
lots of guys doing that. I call them the hustling grinders, right? The hustling grinders. Come on, let's go. Come on, work. And it's like, dude, I want a life. Where are you at? Right? Who cares if you have all the money in the world if you don't have a life?
There you go.
Right. So I take the exact opposite approach. I say, of course, we're going to help you make more money, but we're also going to help you have a life. How's that sound? Like, that sounds better. Right. So anyway, that's really how we do it, because I'll give you a quick example. We were working with one of my clients in the 12-Week Breakthrough. Her name's Tamisa, and she's an entrepreneur in Arizona. Now, she's, really great personality, very motivated, spent lots of money on all the gurus, all those guys. And, she was doing okay in her business, but it had really plateaued, right? And she was a self-proclaimed self-help junkie. That's her words, right? She was going to all these seminars and stuff. And, it just hit a plateau. So she heard me, a friend recommended her to me, and, she started working with me in the 12-Week Breakthrough. Well, she tripled her investment in the first 2 weeks. In 2 weeks of us, just 2 weeks, she already tripled her investment. We hadn't even gotten to the money part yet.
Wow.
So that was all as a result of inner game. And so what's incredible about that is people are doing all these complicated marketing things and all that stuff. And I'm not saying it's wrong or it's bad. It's just that what happens is people forget, or they just haven't been taught how to master their inner game. So we've helped people, we've seen this over and over again for over 20 years, helping people add 6, 7, and even 8 figures in record time. And 90% of that success is because of mastering your inner game.
Well, I have to say, I raced through your book this week, and you share so many secrets throughout it. I can see why I think they call you a talking point machine.
They do indeed, yes.
One of your ideas really jumped out at me. Focus on what we can control. For example, we can't control outcomes, but we can control the activities we do in order to influence the outcomes. And then you provide, an exercise to follow, which it was really easy to do. And it helped me manage. I'm an idea person. I love ideas. I love to sit down and just have them come to me. But then you have to manage your ideas. And what do you do with this great, vast resource? So that exercise said, focus on 3. Pick the 3 that bring you the most results, the best results for the outcomes you're looking for. Now, is that managing head trash, or do you call it something else?
Well, there's about 90 directions we could go with that, so I'll just try to pick a couple here. So you brought up the question of head trash, all right? Because I've written at the time of this recording anyway, 18 books, as you can see in back here, and my books are available in 19 languages all around the world right now.
Awesome.
Which is just amazing to see.
Yes.
Books that I've written, and they're in languages that I don't even speak, which is pretty exciting. I mean, it's very exciting, in fact, because I always dreamed when I was a kid of being a writer. A lot of kids dream of being a baseball player or an astronaut. I always wanted to be a writer, so now I get to do what I dreamed of, and it's pretty amazing. So one of the things that I've talked about in all of my books is this concept of what I call head trash, right? So head trash is, and so for everyone listening, think about your goals, right? Going back to your point you made a moment ago, right? So what are your top 3 goals for the next 12 months, right? So think about what it is you want. So people say, well, Noah, I want to start my business. I want to grow my business. I want to scale my business. I want to write books like you do. I want to have online courses like you have. I want to, coach people like you do. Or I want to lose weight, right? It doesn't have to be just about money or business. It can be about losing weight or getting in shape. I want to find love, right? We helped a lot of people find love, whether it's save their marriages or just find their soulmate or whatever that might be. So again, not just money, but all aspects of life. So think about those 3 things that you want in the next 12 months. Well, see, what happens is people say, okay, I want this, this, and this. But then the very next thought for most people is this. Well, this is what I want, Noah, but I don't think I can do it. And I don't think I can do it because. And see, and then whatever happens after the word because is what you believe. And that is what I call your head trash, right? So your head trash says, well, I want that thing, but I don't think I can do it. So for example, well, Noah, I want to start my business, but I can't do it because I don't have the money. Or I want to get a promotion, but I can't do it because I'm already overworked.
Right.
Or I want to lose the weight, but I can't do it because I don't have the time. Or I've tried everything already, or whatever it might be, right? And so we have so many reasons why we can't do the thing that we want, right? Again, I call that your head trash. So what's so sad about that and ironic is you always make yourself right. You always make yourself right. We humans have an infinite capacity to make ourselves right. And if you don't believe me, try having a political discourse nowadays, and it's just, you can't, because everybody thinks they're right. And so nobody's listening to anybody. That's just one simple example. But my point is that this is one area of your life where you don't want to be right. In other words, if you say, well, I want to do this, but I can't do it because, this is one of the things that I encourage my clients to say, is that right? I'll give you a quick example. I was talking with one of my clients. His name's Charles. And I asked him this question that I ask, all my clients: how much do you think your head trash is costing you right now? In other words, with my description of what I just talked about with head trash. right? And so, and he had read my books, and he was, already a big fan. And so, we got on the phone, and we were talking. I asked him this question. I said, Charles, how much do you think your head dress is costing you? Without batting an eye, he said $1 million. If I don't fix this problem, if I don't get this problem fixed this year, I'm going to lose $1 million this year. And I said, okay, now I hear that a lot. It's actually very common. I said, okay, Charles, I'll tell you what, you give me 10% of that $1 million, and I will find you that $1 million in the next 12 months. In other words, if you give me $1 and I give you $10 back, is that a good deal? He goes, yeah, that's a really good deal. I said, okay. So he paid me $100,000. I mean, that's 10% of $1 million, right? And so I coached him one-on-one, and I didn't find him $1 million in 12 months. I found him 1.8 million in 10 months.
Fantastic.
So he paid me $1. I gave him $18 back. Is that a good deal? Oh, that's a great deal. Right. Deal. And in fact, Absolutely. He went on, he just came back from a 7-week vacation. He went on vacation for 7 weeks. He bought a new RV. He and his wife toured the South. He said, no, I've never been able to do this before. I'm making more money and I've got more time off, proving my point of time and money.
Yes. Yes. Fantastic. Now that is, these exercises, you're very practical. These are not highfalutin ideas. Yeah. They're sweet little secrets that you have just tucked into the 7-figure life, and anybody can do them, which I find wonderful, because it's not all theory. It's very practical, step by step. You speak about unconscious habits of very successful people. What do you mean by that?
That's another part of what I realized, my epiphanies, my teachings that make what I do different from other people. And so what other people are doing, the gurus or whatever, they look at highly successful people and they say, okay, so what are they doing? Well, they're doing this, 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 and this. So do that, and then you'll be successful. So the classic example of that is Think and Grow Rich, right? Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill's written over a century ago, and he interviewed all these successful people, and he said, hey, what do you do? How'd you become so successful? Well, you do this, 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 this. Okay. So he put, so do this, 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 and you'll be successful. So how come tens of millions of people have read that book and not everyone's successful? The answer is because of what he left out. Okay. Now it's not Napoleon Hill's fault, but the point is what I realized, and see, remember I told you earlier that I read all these books and I'll say the same thing, do this, this, this. I did that, and it never worked. I was like, what the heck? I was so frustrated. In fact, I was so frustrated that at the age of 25, after I'd been studying these things for years, I decided to commit suicide because I was so depressed and frustrated because I was working really hard and not seeing any results. Now, at the last moment, the very last moment, my life was spared. That was back in 1992. I was 25 years old. And so my life was spared, but I didn't know why at the time. And so it took me another 5 years till I had these epiphanies in 1997, the Afformations. Right. And then the second epiphany that I had, which leads to this point, is when I realized that there are tens of millions of people who are suffering from what I call success anorexia. People are starving themselves of success and they don't even know they're doing it. And one of the things behind that is what we now call the power habits of unconsciously successful people. So the power habits are what highly successful people do that they don't even know they're doing. And therefore, number one, they're unconscious of it. And number two, they can't teach it. So just to give you an example, whenever we humans want to master a new habit, we go through 4 stages of competence. The first is unconscious incompetence. That means you don't know you don't know. The second stage is conscious incompetence. That means you don't know. And the third stage is conscious competence, which is you know. And then the final stage is unconscious competence, which is you do without thinking. So it's like an example would be driving a car, right?
Right.
We all, probably everybody listening to this program knows how to drive a car, but you had to go through these 4 stages, right? First, you didn't know, then you knew you didn't know, then you knew, you learned. And of course, nowadays, for most people listening, they do it without thinking. Well, there's lots of things that we do, but what I realized that makes my coaching and my training and my programs different is that highly successful people are doing these habits unconsciously. They don't know they're doing them. And therefore you can sit there and ask them all day long, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And they go, well, I did this and this and this. But they left out all the good stuff.
Right.
That's why, like Tamisa, as an example, and well, basically all my clients, I mean, you included, right, Susan? I mean, you went to all those gurus and they
I
basically all
went to all
said,
those gurus.
yeah,
Absolutely. I put myself deep in debt going to all those gurus.
yeah,
And to find out that is a really interesting point, because unconscious competence, you don't even know you have it.
that's right.
You know, when we had the landslide, which was the great disaster of my life,
Mhm.
we didn't know how to go about it consciously. We didn't know what to do to fix it or to make our lives get back on track. But we unconsciously did, because we took the steps that were good steps to take. We took
Mhm.
actions. We didn't just think about it. We didn't wail about it. We took action. We got into purpose.
Right,
I didn't know at the time that's what I was doing. I was absolutely an unconscious competent at that level.
right.
And it was so fantastic when I discovered your work, because you literally, I think of you as my breakthrough coach.
Oh,
I was stuck, and you got me out of that. And it was so simple to go through the process. Even in this book, it's so simple. You have a gift for capturing what is, other people write about with many flowery words, but you do it in a way we really can apply. And I think that's so important to the work that you do.
wow.
Uh,
Thank you. I'm honored. And the fact is that, and thank you, that means a heck of a lot. Coming from you, one of my students, one of my clients, and one of my amazing success stories, which you are. It's just wonderful. I love, this is like a full circle moment here for me,
yeah.
which is awesome. And the fact is that, I really wrote all these 18 books. People say, no, well, why'd you write 18 books? I'm like, because I wanted them. I wish someone would have helped me years and years ago, and nobody ever did. Like you were just saying, I mean, you go to all these gurus, they basically all say the same thing, and basically comes down to work harder. Come on,
Yeah.
hustle, grind. Oh my God, really? That's your solution? And I mean, and the fact is, they do these things. They don't even know they're doing it. So they're saying stuff over here, but they're doing things over there.
Right.
And whether they're conscious of that dichotomy or not, I don't know. But half of me thinks half of them are, and they're like, I think I'm going to tell everybody go over here. Meanwhile, I'm going over there, and that to me is like, really, really, I don't like that. So
Yeah.
I just like to say, look,
This is what it is.
do this, boom. And I'm like, wouldn't that have been nice? I wish somebody would have told me that a long time ago. So anyway, that's my way of giving back to the universe.
Well, and you sort of stated it toward the end of your book, which I just love this section. It's probably the most succinct description of the book at the very end, where you say, you make sure we have the right plan for what to do, with the right tools to know how to do it, and surrounded by the right people and support, so we can take the right actions to implement the plan.
That's right.
And we have to do it. You can't tell us, our support structure can't tell us. We still have to do it, but you put all the pieces in place so then we can make it happen. I love that.
Thank you. Well, that I appreciate that, and I think it's so important for people to understand that really is the essence of success. Just really those three things: the right plan, what to do. I paid all those guys over $500,000. I just asked them one question: what do I do? They never answered the question. After $500,000, they never answered the question. That's pretty annoying, quite frankly. And it's like, really? Anyway, I paid you for one thing. You couldn't tell me one thing. So yeah. Anyway, number two is the right tools. That's how to do it. So, okay, I know what to do. Well, now how do I do it? So you have to have the right tools, right? And then the third element is, you're right, the right support. What I realized as, the 7-figure habits coach, the father of Afformations, they also call me the mental health coach to the stars. I mean, one of the biggest things that I do is just believing in people. And it sounds like so simple, and it is, but see, most people, and I know this more than anybody, because I mean, nobody attempts suicide who believes in themselves, right? I mean, it should be pretty obvious, right? So it's obvious that I didn't believe myself. That's why I had that experience, because I didn't have anybody believing in me. Or even if I did, I didn't believe that they believed in me. And so you have to have that in place, those three elements. And then there's one other thing, though, and that is you have to take the right actions. And so I always love to give this analogy. which is, imagine if you wanted to get in shape and you hire me as your personal trainer. You say, hey, Noah, I hear you're the best personal trainer out there, so I want you to help me get in shape. And I say, okay, great. All right, well, let's get started. You say, oh, by the way, I want you to do my sit-ups for me so I get six-pack abs. I'm like,
Right.
you
Doesn't
know,
work,
wouldn't
does
that be great though? Wouldn't it be great if you could hire somebody,
Wonderful.
pay them,
Wonderful.
they do your sit-ups, and you get six-pack abs? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I haven't figured that one out yet. I'd be a billionaire, man, if I knew that one. Because boy, oh boy, wouldn't that be great? But gosh darn it, on planet Earth, we have to do this annoying thing called take action ourselves. But that's the point. You got to have those three elements: the right plan, the right tools, and the right support, and that just makes taking action a heck of a lot easier.
So I guess the really challenging question out of all of this is, what actions do we take to have a successful seven-figure life?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why I wrote the book. So, I mean, that's why we look at those four focus factors, and they are time, energy, relationships, and money. And you'll notice that the book is, organized
that way.
into those four, pillars, I call them, or the four pillars of having what I like to call a freedom lifestyle, or a seven-figure life, or even a six-figure life if you want, or eight figures, whatever you want to do. Right? We've helped people add 6, 7, and 8 figures. Wherever you want to end up, it's all good. And so, but that's why, as you mentioned, I give you specific exercises, because the word exercise actually comes from the Latin word exarcere, which means to come from within. See, people don't realize that when you're exercising, for example, if you exercise your body, right, it's something that's already inside of you. Like there's a healthy body already in there. We just have to get it out, right? And it's just like that, I think, with our lives or our business, our careers, whatever it is. I mean, it's in there. But because we've been packed with so much, garbage and head trash and, bad advice out there, sometimes it can be hard to dig through the trash, But really, that's what the book is about. That's what all my coaching is about helping you draw out from within what's already within you. And I mean, that's why, like I said, you are one of my great success stories, having gone from where you were when we met to where you are today. And I mean, and you were able to get there pretty quickly, as I recall.
It was very quick. No, I mean, just using the primary thing that I applied right away were the Afformations.
Yep.
And that began to make small shifts right away. Mm-hmm. And within 3 months, I had gone from the sort of the bottom place of what I was doing to a new job that turned out to be. And the irony, I mean, I was fighting this all the way because it wasn't what I had put in my head for where I wanted to be. And I was fighting it and finally said, okay, I'll do it. And it turned out to be this incredible position that grew and allowed me to do so much for many years. It was pretty cool.
That is wonderful.
And pay up all my debts.
Yay!
That was even more amazing, and save money into the future. So nice. I think there's something to be said for when you shift the gears. It can happen very, very quickly. Just like the woman you mentioned who did it in 2 weeks. She made amazing shifts in just 2 weeks.
Indeed.
Yeah. So I've touched on the key points I noticed. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I just, people often get hung up on that number, the seven-figure life or seven-figure business or whatever it might be. And I think one of the reasons that I called it that is because I want to expand people's beliefs in themselves. And, of course, for many, many years, I didn't believe I could ever get to this level. And I really didn't have anyone believe in me. In fact, I had people, not that they were bad people, but they were just really, even if it's in a loving way, saying, Noah, maybe you should go get a job. It's been a while. It's not working out. Maybe you should just try something else. But I knew that there was, I had a message that I wanted to bring to the world, but I just needed some help. And I didn't get any help, even though I paid all those guys all that money, and they're still out there. And it's kind of sucky because it's like, man, they're giving what I feel is really not very good advice. And, I paid for that. Anyway, my point is that I call it the seven-figure life just to give people that hope and that realization that, wait a minute, if somebody like him who, decided to commit suicide, who started his company in a 300 square foot basement apartment with $800 and a book on HTML and didn't have any, business knowledge or marketing or sales or anything, And it was all, long before YouTube and Facebook and social media and everything like that. I mean, if somebody like him can do it, I can do it too. And that's what I really want people to believe, that you can do it. If I could do it, you could do it.
And that's a good place to come from, because it does give people hope, and they can grab onto that and hang on to take the steps they need to take. So, well, I want to thank you for being with us today, Noah. This was fun. For the benefit of our listeners, we've been speaking with Noah St. John, who has just brought out his latest book, The 7-Figure Life: How to Leverage the 4 Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness. And
can we let folks know where they can get the book?
Where is it available?
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, it's available anywhere books are sold. But if you go to 7figurelifebook.com, that's the website, 7, the number 7, 7figurelifebook.com. And because you heard me on this program, I will give you over $300 of free bonus gifts. So just go to 7figurelifebook.com, order the book on Amazon, then just enter your information, and I'll send you a whole bunch of real cool free gifts because you're listening to this program. So 7figurelifebook.com.
Well, thank you very much, Noah. I think people will enjoy having those little treats on top of the book itself. They will get a lot out of it. If you also want to check out www.embracepositivechange.com, you can find out what I'm doing, which is my own work in this with vision workshops and that sort of thing. So thank you all for listening. Thank you for all of the people who support this program. I really appreciate you. And as we bring this in for a landing, Noah, thank you again for bringing your new book to the world and to our show. So
my pleasure.
bye for now. Have a great day. Thank you.